Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be building a barn and stables. So this is kind of a extension of the medieval village. This is a part 4. Just a quick reminder, I have an episode, part 1 is where we did the farmhouse and learned how to build a thatched roof. In episode 2, we did a bakery. And in the third episode, we did a watermill, which was a lot of fun. And then this week, we're doing the barn stables. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've actually had quite a few requests to build a barn and stable, for other games, for Blood and Plunder, fantasy games, and I just never got around to doing it, but I figured this was a great opportunity to add it to my medieval village. So I've been kind of trying to pick pieces that I haven't built before, like the watermill and like the barn and stables. Farmhouses, I built something like that before, but I didn't use the technique of using the thatched roof as a party streamer, so there were some new aspects of it. So I'm trying to pick new projects that I've never done before, but incorporated in the medieval village. But I kind of built this barn and stable so it could fit into a lot of games. It has somewhat of a medieval feel, but it has a fantasy feel, and it could be used in Blood and Plunder, or even in North American stable and barns or something for, Fire in the Frontier or something. So I kind of really stretched it a little bit, per se, let's say, and just tried to make it fit into a lot of games, just like I do with a lot of my terrain. This is the first project we built in the new Plunder Den. So last episode, we just kind of went through a tour of the Plunder Den. So this is the first project I completed here, and I was really excited to get this one done. So let's take a look at it. That's the best way to describe it. And there's kind of several aspects to it. Really happy how this turned out. It's completely playable, and we'll kind of go through the different elements. So this roof comes off. I like to be playable in all the floors. So let's take a look at the, the upper floor here. And it's kind of just basic. I got a hole here that goes to the ladder down below. We got actually put a crossbow and a lantern in there, and some hay bale, just to kind of add some details. Maybe there's a crossbow guy hide up in there, but it could be anything. So I added that on the top of the barn. And then on here, I got that thatched roof component of it I was talking about. So that's removable, and that gets you into the actual stables themselves. So I got hay in here. I got a rope detail, lantern, just some things that I would think would be in there, some more rope inside there. And then we got the main barn itself. Now I looked a lot of medieval signs for stables, and really the only thing I came up with most often was a horseshoe. So I figured, well, I might just stick with the classic. There was other really elaborate horses and stuff like that. I wasn't going to do that. So we just got just a horseshoe, real simple. Made some barn doors on here. I got a little trough here, you can see, I poured some resin in there. And then you even got a little bucket down there with water in it. I got some farm tools in there. Over this way, yeah, that way. And we'll tip it upside down. You can see there's a table in there with some weapons, some jars, stuff in there, more hay bale. And it's kind of a combination of stone and wood that I used to put on the floor. I just thought that was kind of appropriate for the time period, but like fantasy as well, like I said. So that's kind of all the details I added. Add a little bit of flocking to the outside of the wall, and there you have it. We have a nice barn that I'm really happy with and turned out, and get lots of time to playing with it, in matches and stuff like that. And it fits great with the medieval village that we've been building. All right, so that's what we're building in today's episode. Before we get down there, I just want to briefly talk about the Summer of Plunder has started. It goes till August 3rd. And I might have something to announce on August 3rd. I'll probably be down in the Calgary area. So you happen to be down there, I should be running something at Sentry Box, Blood and Plunder related. So if you live in that area, I encourage you to come down on August 3rd. It's a Saturday, down to Sentry Box, and I'm hoping to do some demoing down there, and probably like a a narrative play where we play a big game where people can just come and just hook up. I'll have some loner forces and stuff so people can get involved and learn how to play Blood and Plunder. Sentry Box does carry some Blood and Plunder products, which is great, and it's a lot easier to get it here in Canada and try to ship it, but you know, it's a good place to check out. And even if you're not into Blood and Plunder, Sentry Box is awesome. It has games for anything you can possibly imagine. It's one of the world's largest game stores. So I hope to see a bunch of people down there. All right, so that aside, for the Summer of Plunder, I will put the link to the Blood and Pigment page. And Firelock Games. They are usually the people that run this event. I'm sponsoring it again this year, so I'll be giving a piece of terrain as a prize. And maybe there might be another flash challenge coming up there, so just stay tuned for that. But keeping it secret, I haven't decided exactly what I want to build, but the winner will get a piece of handcrafted terrain for me. And I'm not sure exactly, one of the categories it'll be listed. Usually it's around best looking table and terrain and those kind of things. That's usually where I have my prize in. So, but Blood and Pigment will have a whole listing of the prizes for what things you need to complete to win. So there's a good opportunity to win a lot of things. All you gotta do is play Blood and Plunder or Oak and Iron, and you're entered into win some of these amazing prizes. All right, that's that aside. If you guys like what we're doing here on the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get down to the table. Let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, so let's start looking at some of the materials that I used for this project. We got some rope that I plan on tearing apart to make some hay bales, which I've done before on the channel, but I think it'll be great for this barn. I got some hobby wire. I use this to make some ropes. We got assorted balsa wood here, all sorts of balsa wood. Party streamers for our thatched roof. And I got more hobby wood from the dollar store, different shapes and sizes. Gonna add some of that on there. Egg cartons, the paper kind, that has a nice texture to it. We got our insulation foam. We got some dowels here, popsicle sticks, coffee stir sticks, all the things we're gonna need to build our walls. And then some dollar store foam board, the Ready Board brand that I like to use on the channel here. All right, so similar to other projects, I like to just draw it with a piece of pencil and a miniature. Just kind of as I'm going along just to see if everything fits, what I kind of plan it out on here. So I guess I kind of do a somewhat planning. I kind of want to know I want to do a stone wall, stables on the side here, and the main barn over here. Those miniatures are going to come along with us. I wanted to paint some more spearmen for my French army as we're going along here for our medieval project. So now I'm moving into building my stone walls around the entire barn stable. And I'm going to use this foam board here and take the paper off both sides so I can bend it. Normally I wouldn't take the paper off, but I wanted the flexibility because the walls are curved. And then I'm going to use a hot glue gun to glue it on quickly. I don't want to use white glue. It'll be too hard to, let's just say, keep it in place. So once that's all done, you can see I got the curves on my walls. I want to start framing out the barn. So I kind of know where the walls are going to be now. And I'm going to put my posts in here. Some larger posts. I kind of want everything to be at a slant for the roof. That's what I'm indicating there. So we're going to have smaller posts out front, larger posts out back. And that will give us that slant that we want on our roof. So I'm going to use my trusty tacky glue here to glue this all together. And I like to use a tacky glue for these components opposed to the hot glue. So you can see I've put some pieces on there. I'm kind of deciding as I'm going along how I'm going to frame it out. I know that the barn's going to be a couple of floors, and then this will be just a single floor where the stables are. But I need to stabilize it now. I've gotten the main posts. Now I got to put the cross beams in. Now, I didn't put them on overly straight. I kind of wanted to look like an old rustic stables. You can see that some of them are not 100% straight. They're kind of bent, especially right around the stables there. I'm adding more support beams in here, and really this is just to build strengths, and it's going to allow me to glue the wooden planks to the outside. And I kind of want to narrow this entranceway for my doors. So I'm kind of planning for my doors as well as kind of planning for how I'm going to glue the wooden paneling to it. I also want to put a detail. I'm not going to actually put a gate. I just want to put a couple of posts at the entranceway to the stone walls, and kind of just breaks up that stone wall with a wooden post. So as you can see, I put a pile of midis in here just to kind of see how it would look. You can see I'm starting to frame out more of the inside. I cut that centerpiece of that foam board there to make it look like they're connected on the inside. So the barn will be connected to the stables on the inside. So I had to make an opening there. So I cut it out and then I used some boards. So now we're going to make the stones. It's insulation foam. I cut it into strips. And that's a 1/2 inch insulation foam, by the way. And then those are the different kind of bricks I make. So I've got a whole bunch in here. Now, if you have a Proxxon cutter, you could do this faster. I still like the randomization of the stones with box cutter. Or I prefer to a Proxxon, but a Proxxon will save you tons of time. You'll get this done in no time at all. This actually took me about an hour to get all this done, shake it up, and sort them into that plate there. So it's a little more time consuming, but I do like the randomness of the bricks. So I'm just showing you where I'm going to glue all these bricks on. Use my tacky glue again, and this is where that, the dollar store foam board kind of insert in the wall, it really comes in handy. And you just glue the bricks to it. So it kind of builds up the thickness of the wall, gives it a nice place to stick it to, and you can really, more control over the pattern of the bricks that are on the wall when you're gluing it to something else, opposed to just gluing them. If you just glue them to each other, you kind of get wibbly wobbly. Unless you did it on a Proxxon and they're all the exact same size, it would be easier that way. But I like the core and just have the roundness of the bricks. It's just a personal preference of mine. I like the way it looks. So now we're going to decide to put a little bit of stonework on the courtyard in the front of the barn. And we're going to use our egg cartons. I just going to cut them into these little round shapes like gardening stones or whatever. And I'm just going to use that portion of it. Now, some of the barn I want to have it like this, but some of them I want to have wooden planks on the floor. So we're going to kind of do a mixture of the both. Now, before I went too far, I'm going to move to painting the bottom. So as you glue these egg carton pieces on, it will start warping the foam board. You could use hardy board or something else to glue it to. I prefer to use the lighter materials, the foam board. So all you gotta do is put some black craft paint on the bottom, and that will counteract the warp, and it's completely straight again. And then we're ready to keep on going. So again, putting more beams in. I'm going to add some brick details into the front of the door here. You can see I've already done the bricks all the way around, but I haven't done the tops of the walls yet. Kind of planning the inside first. Kind of want to have that separated in the center. Kind of like there's stables within the barn. And it's time to move to the coffee stir sticks to kind of really... I want smaller planks on the outer wall. And plus I got to build the gates to the stables. So you can see it kind of looks like a pallet actually. But I kind of just made a rickety looking 2 posts and a couple of boards there. And I added the coffee stir sticks to the bottom of the stables. And I'm going to fill in the rest of this white gaps with those coffee stir sticks. Again, just having that stone wood combination that looks really good, I think. It look good to paint up and appropriate for what I'm building. So this is a simple construction for the doors. Okay, I'm just showing you after I've completed all the wooden planks. I'm getting ahead of myself. But down below, there is actually the doorway I'm building for these 2 stables. So I decided to leave the one empty on the end. Just kind of that's where they store the hay. And the first 2 will actually have a kind of a gate. So this is simple construction. Just used some coffee stir sticks and made a basic pattern and glued it together. Left a little bit of a gap between them so it looks more like a fence than opposed to a solid wall. And then there you have it. I got my angles going on either side. Now, using this really skinny balsa wood, I kind of want to put like a framed detail inside, like there are supports on all these beams. This was tedious, be honest, but it adds a lot of detail to the project. So these smaller things really do make a difference. I'm just showing you I'm going to put more planks on the sides of the wall. So this is after I've added all those, you can see the little supports on the frames. It looks a lot nicer. It looks like it's more complete. And I started filling in the separations between the stables. So this is just a quick construction with some basic balsa wood and kind of chalked out some walls there between them, separation. So then I decided to put a little more framing there because I'm going to put a window there. I figured it'd be a couple of windows in the barn. And then I had to add this frame all the way along the bottom here. Before I put the capstones on that wall, I want to put this wooden frame in there because I have to have something for those boards to glue to. I don't want it to glue to the top of the stone. I want to glue it to another wooden frame. So that's why I added that frame. You can see all the way around. I've added it in there. I'm just showing you I added a few more stones to complete the transition between the stones and wooden planks on the floor, essentially. So those are all the wooden supports that I've added in there and framing work. This will make it really easy for me to glue the coffee stir sticks to the outer walls and get that wooden looking wall. We are going to have some side boards on there just to give it imply it's like a Tudor style, and that would be appropriate for this time frame. So again, I've added a few more beams in there, and I still haven't put the capstones on yet on my wall yet, except for the, you can see I've done it on the front side, but not the back because I'm still working on the wood frame. So I'll make sure we're leaving that open. And I've added more balsa wood posts there, and you can see, and mainly this is just to support these diagonal boards, again, to sell that Tudor style look to the barn. And so we're going to add those details in there because I wanted to give it a little more medieval look to it. Then I'm also looking at adding more boards to the side wall to kind of fill it in because right now it's open in the back of the barn. So just kind of filling in the gaps here. Just slowly but surely. There is no blueprint for building this while I was going along. I was just filming and building as I'm going along here. Thankfully, I usually don't build myself into a corner where I can't finish it. But now it's time to add those stones. You can see I've just pointed to that I'm going to put all the capstones on there. And I add a little detail to the top of that window. All my side panels are on. And this kind of just gives it a little more, it's more finished look. I just don't want that exposed dollar store foam board. And all the outer walls have been framed in. I framed in that side wall right there. So you can see as I'm going along. I only do little bits at a time. Mainly because I wasn't building this with a plan, so I didn't want to get too far that I couldn't go back and fix it. But you guys are getting the advantage of me already completing it, and I'm just following along. So just showing you, I'm going to put some more wooden planks on there. I put those little details in there, so I had something to stick the planks onto as well. And then I'm kind of looking at how I'm going to address the roof. So all these planks are now added. I've filled in all the walls, even to between the two structures, and we are all walled in. We have all our stones, bricks, so pretty much the base is almost complete. There's not much more I want to add to the base except for all the little details we're going to add at the very end. I decided I didn't want the doors to go right to the top of the beam, so I did add another post in here. Again, this is just decisions made as I'm going along that would look better than what it is now. So like a cross beam there, I'm going to connect my little sign to it. And then I'm making my barn doors. Again, this is coffee stir sticks, simple construction. But what I want to do is add the bead details. So these are just sticky beads from Michael's. And I'm going to use them as rivets or, bolts on the doors just to give it a little more like it's a castle wall kind of, castle door, sorry, not wall. A medieval feel to it. So just adding these details really adds to it. So it doesn't look like much now. It looks like I just bejeweled it, which, guess technically I did, but we're gonna cover that with paint, and you won't be able to tell what that is. So I also want to do the side details on the back, but we're gonna put those doors aside for now. We're gonna paint them separately. I don't like to glue them in. It's too hard to paint them with the proper detail on it afterwards. So I got a really thick piece of balsa wood on there. And I just cut that dollar store foam board there to fit into the roof side. And you can see how I'm kind of working out how the slant's going to glue on. I'm just using this small piece as a demonstration, but I'm going to cut a longer piece to go along the whole top. So it's going to kind of make like a V or a triangle. And then I just cut out the size within the board. So you can see the front and back are leaning on the boards, but the sides are not. Mainly because I want room for the walls so it doesn't overlap too much, if that makes sense. All right, so this over here is the completed. You can see I got an overhang on the back. I just want to lean over the back so I can, when I put that thatched roof, it looks a little, a little bit hanging over the back of it. And this is a basic construction wall. I made an opening for the stairwell. I plan on putting in the bottom corner. I framed out the front opening of the barn and the side window. Just figured there would be a side window on there, even if you had to escape out the side to the top of the thatched roof. There's an opening there. And I just framed that out with coffee stir sticks. And I'm just showing you I'm going to cover the entire thing in coffee stir sticks. Starting to build up the walls on there. I decided to glue a lip on the front of this. Again, this is something that happened as I went along. I realized it wasn't, far enough out. And I needed to add that detail. And then here I'm starting to do I usually start with the frames first. These are popsicle sticks, so they're a little bit bigger. Kind of like the corner boards, and then I'm going to fill in the smaller areas with the coffee stir sticks. Now to texturize them, I use my hobby knife and score them to give that wood, the older wood look to it. Most coffee stir sticks and popsicle sticks are kind of smooth. So you want to add that on there to give them a little more wood look to it. If you did this whole thing in foam, you can just, use a pencil or something to put the details in. But I like using wood and foam combination. It is a lot more sturdy. Again, I mentioned I don't really use a lot of Mod Podge in my projects, almost virtually none. So most of mine is done with just a lot of boards and a lot of craft paint, which adds enough hardness to it. Once you add all those wooden planks there, it sure makes a big difference. So then I cut out, I did a notched roof. I looked at pictures of old medieval barns, and they had this notched roof on the front. So I kind of wanted to capture that. And it's something different I've never done before. And so I did really frame that out as well. And I'm going to add, I decided to just go with more of a wood paneling kind of roof instead of shingles, what I've done in the past, or a thatched top. I decided to go with wood paneling, which will make it really good for it to overlap the floor below, and it keeps it nice and snug. So that's kind of what I was working on here, making sure everything overlaps properly. You can see I've used kind of a smaller balsa wood to frame out where I'm going to glue my sticks, and decided to add a little bit of detail to the top by gluing a few more pieces on there. I know that kind of gives it almost a Japanese feel, but I kind of like that more detail. Again, kind of going off the beaten path here, more down the fantasy route than the medieval route. But I kind of wanted to add those details on there. These are just personal choices of mine. You don't have to add any of those things. You could just put a thatched roof on there if you wanted to. But you can see I got a little notched out, and it sits nicely right on top of that kind of overhang on the opening to the barn. And I'm just showing you I have a little bit of an overhang on the entire piece. So it just fits nice on there, right? Snug in there, rests in there, and I really like that. So those are the kind of things that are easy ways of just putting your pieces together. I finished off the edges of those with some balsa woods, really thin balsa wood that could cut into shapes like that, just to finish off the ends so we don't have to see the foam. Now we're moving to our party streamers that I'm using for thatched roof. And again, refer to the farmhouse project where I go into detail on how I glue them on. But here I'm just showing you that I cut the streamers into chunks, cut a little bit off because they're too wide, just to make them a little bit smaller. Then I just trim up the ends with a pair of scissors, and then I just glue them on in layers. And there you go, you got your thatched roof. Now to paint those, you're gonna have to use a small brush, of course. Now I didn't do anything for the second floor, so I just made a small track system like I've done before, just pieces of insulation, dollar store foam board there on the bottom, and then I put in my ladder that connects to the opening on the bottom. All right, so now as everything is completed, I actually just kind of let everything dry overnight, just so before I started painting, everything was good. So I added this little detail on here, figuring you would use a rope or a pulley to pull things to the top floor. So I kind of added that detail. I wanted to make a little pitchfork. This is going to be troughed for the water. And I'm just going to add drywall compound in there, just like I did the river for the watermill. These are 2 lanterns. Those are just leftover pieces left from a Firelock game ship. Some rope that I mentioned I'm going to use a hobby wire for. These are the pieces of the of the egg cartons that are not as straight that I could use for tiles, but they make good for like rocks or something. But I'm going to use them to be the core of my hay bales. So I take my rope here, and cut them into little chunks and separate them till they get broken down all the way. Now, I've done this on this channel before. I've made hay bales, and I've done this in a similar manner. So then you got this kind of left over. So I'm just going to use some white glue, and it's going to glue nicely to that egg carton. I used that egg carton because this hay glues to it really nicely. And really, it's just sloppy. I just put a bunch of glue on and just pressed all that down on it. And it's got a nice flat bottom, so it'll be easy to glue down, and it really looks good. Now, I decided to make a little table, too. You can see there's a table there. Simple, just board, two legs on either side. Nothing fancy, just really simple. I want to decide to put a table detail inside the barn. So all my little pieces are completed that I wanted to add. I grabbed a few jewelry pieces here that I used in the bakery, some mugs, glasses. I had an old well, and I just cut the bucket off of. I didn't build one, I just cut one off that was pre-made. And that's going to be for my sign, and then the doors. I added that zigzag kind of Z pattern to the back of it. And then I decided to add just a few weapons left from my sprues of miniatures. A crossbow, sword, and axe. Just going to add more details to the entire piece. So now everything's constructed. Everything is fabricated. The top roof, the second floor, the base, the thatched roof, the inside of here, all the little accessories that we built, so we have quite a few different things here. Now, the only thing I'm not going to paint, I'm going to paint everything with the black craft paint except for the hay bales. I'm just going to leave them the way they are. I might add a little bit of wash to them at the very end. So this actually was quite tedious. I probably in the future would have done a project like this again. I would have started painting as I went along. It got trickier as I was adding more things to it. So it's just to get the proper dry brush technique that I use. It was really hard to paint the inside. So then I moved to real brown. Again, these are the basic tones I always use for the base colors of my projects. And we've covered everything except, again, for the hay bales. Then we move on to bark brown, which is the lighter brown. Again, we're just moving up the color chain here, lightening it as we go to get highlights in there. So I'm just going to kind of show you where we're at with everything. Like I said, it was a little tricky to paint in there, but I got it done. It would have been a little easier if I would have done it in stages. But I was just wanted to get it all built and just paint it. Sometimes I just want to get it done. So opposed to, I'm just impatient when I'm building things. I just want to see what it looks like when it's complete. So this is the Pablo. It's orange color. Again, something I've always used on the channel. I'm just going to give it a little highlight. Not on the thatched roof, but everything else, I'm going to give it a little bit of touch of Pablo. I decided to not put on the thatched roof. So this is after I've added that. It just brightened some of the weathering on the walls, the floor, the roof. Now I'm going to go back to a real brown and yellow ochre mixture. Again, this is something I use for my floors, just to give it a little more weathering look to it. I've done it on my ship bases too as well. And then this camel color is going to be used on all the stonework. So we're going to start lightening all these stones up. We've got nice earth tones in there, but we're going to add some of that camel to lighten them up. All right, so this is after all I've added those colors. Look how much color has already been added to this piece by just adding that yellow and the camel color. Really get a nice look to it already. But we're going to get into the finer details. We're going to get into washes and other more expensive, let's say, craft paints, just to add more details in it. But ultimately, you could just leave it at this stage. It looks fine. But if you want to go a little bit further and add a little more details, we're going to do that. So we got our mummy robe, we got our skeleton bone, and desert yellow, the colors I use to lighten up my stones. Got skeleton horde contrast paint, Agrax earth shader. I think it's Serpian Sepia. Those are just stuff I'm just going to wash as I'm going to put on everything. The thatched roof is going to be on around the stonework, on the walls themselves. I'm going to move to some speed paints, Paladin Bone, Dark Wood, Sand Golem, Graveyard Gray, and there's Hardened Leather, which I haven't shown you yet, but that other speed paint is the other one I like to use. That's going to be for weathering the wood. I'm going to put some of this on the stonework, but mostly the woodwork. Just give it a nice weathered look with those speed paints, which I've done on this channel before. So this is after I've added all those colors. You can see I'm really happy how that stonework looked, and the multicolored kind of boards, weathering inside. That sand golem looks really good on your base of your floors. And then I brightened up my thatched roof a little bit. Worked on the inside of the stables as well. But then I added this Everland Sunset as a Games Workshop paint, a citadel paint. Good for brightening up the thatched roof. I've been using that on all my projects. Gunmetal. I'm going to add to some of the metal details, especially the door. I added a little bit to the pitchfork, some of the weapons I made, and the tops of the lanterns. Just kind of a little bit of gunmetal everywhere, really. So we got a deep blue, ultramarine blue. You can pick whatever blues you want. I just picked a couple of light ones and dark ones, just to kind of fill in there. I also wanted to add commando green to give it a kind of a mucky look, somewhat to the water, but pretty blue. And we got grim black and this malignant green, which I really like to use just as a dirty griming agent or aging or weathering look to it. And I got these colors I'm going to use for the lantern, lava orange. I actually use pure red, not dragon red, even though I show you dragon red. We got moon dust, and I actually went back to that sunset again. And a combination of those colors I used to just give the lantern the impression that it's lit up and looked, starting with the yellows in the bottom, work my way up to the oranges. And I haven't decided I'm going to put my sign on yet at this point. I decided I'm just making it flat. But I decided to paint a horseshoe on it. So this is after I've added all those details. There's my lantern completed. I've glued in the hay bales now, kind of where I wanted them to be located. And I've added that crossbow detail. So I just kind of added the details where I want them to be in here. Again, you could add other things on here as well. But I kind of like the way I've placed everything on here. That's where the bucket is. I figured that would be next to the horse stable. There's my little pitchfork for my hay. Again, just showing you the rope and lantern again. There's a table on the inside. I got a couple jars on there. There's an axe and a sword on there. Just some random sorted items on top of the table there. Inside the stable, there's another rope and some more hay in the corner in that first stall. So those are all completed now. All the details have been added. Everything's been glued in. Everything's ready to go here. Now, the other thing I haven't got done yet is I still haven't poured the resin into the trough here. So this is after the paint's dried, and remember, we put the drywall compound. The only reason I put it in there is to make it uneven surface, so it's not completely stagnant. Just like there's a little bit of movement in there. And then I added that Art Mines blue resin, just a little bit. That horse is just something that I've had. I kind of just gave it a touch up of paint. So now we're going to do a little flocking. I got my static grass, two different yellow and green there. I use those and mix them together and get like a lighter green. I got some huge miniature tufts. Again, I like their multi-shaped tufts. And then I got this other one from Greener's Grass. So just going to add those on there, just to add a little bit of plant life randomly on side. There's after the resin's in there. Of course, I let that sit for 24 hours and let it harden. And then I just glued it in place. Now, originally I was going to put it on the inside, but I glued my pitchfork in too close. I ended up putting it on the outside, which kind of made more sense. All right, so let's take a look at the battlefield. I have it all set up. The town's getting bigger and bigger all the time. We just went by our watermill. There's our bakery. And we just passed the farmhouse. And then we reached our stables. So let's just take one more look through inside. There's a top cap. I got a lot of crossbow guys in here. Take the thatched roof off. This inside of the stables. Just some of the finished characters that I was painting as I was going along, those spearmen for my French army. There's a horse in his stables now. Everything looks really good. Resin's all dry. And really happy with all the details on here. I'm really happy with the end result of this project. All right, that's pretty much a wrap on this project. I can't wait to get to the next part of the medieval town. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.